Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking into a case that really highlights a painful kind of irony in criminal history. It's about knowing who did it, but, well, never getting that official legal closure. We're diving into the 1975 disappearance of Susan Curtis. She was just 15, vanished right from the BYU campus in Provo, Utah.
Yeah, Brigham Young University.
And the specific details here, they're quite jarring, aren't they? June 27th. She disappears during a walk that's barely a quarter mile, just from the student center back to her dorm.
And she was at a formal event just before.
Exactly. So she was last seen walking alone, late evening, on what you'd think was a safe, well-lit campus path, wearing a full-length yellow evening gown.
It paints such a vivid, almost surreal picture. And this case, it really is a study in ambiguity. I mean, it's a crime everyone attributes to Ted Bundy.
Right, the historical certainty is there.
But legally, officially, it's still unresolved because that final piece, the absolute confirmation to her remains, they were never found. So our mission today is to look at those early investigation problems, the bigger picture of Bundy's terror in '75, and really unpack the sheer cruelty in his final confession.
That gap, between knowing what happened and having it officially closed, that's the core tragedy, especially for her family.
Absolutely.
To really feel the weight of this, we need to start with Susan herself. 15 years old, a student at Woods Cross High, described as athletic, driven.
Still on the track team, right, and baseball.
Yeah, track and the girls' baseball team. But what really stands out, for me anyway, is how independent she was just getting to this conference in the first place.
Oh, that 50-mile bike ride? It says so much about her. She wanted to attend the Bountiful Orchard Youth Conference in Provo, and she didn't just ask for a lift.
Yeah.
She rode her bicycle 50 arduous miles from Bountiful down to BYU. That shows determination, self-reliance, real capability, which makes her just vanishing even more unsettling.
And she was at this church-sponsored youth event on a major university campus. It must have felt like, well, the safest place imaginable back then.
A protective bubble.
A promise of safety and supervision that was just completely broken.
And that illusion of safety, that's precisely what predators like Bundy exploit. So she leaves the banquet at the Wilkinson Student Center late on June 27th.
Simple plan.
Yeah, just walk back to the dorm, brush her teeth, go to bed. That short, totally mundane walk became the window of opportunity for the killer. She leaves her friends, starts that walk, and she's gone.
The BYU police led the initial investigation, and they focused immediately on one particular piece of evidence that really set the direction, proving this wasn't just her taking off.
And it was such a small, everyday detail, but it meant everything. Investigators checked her dorm room, her toothbrush.
It was dry.
Completely dry. A silent witness, you could say. That tiny fact proved she was intercepted before she got back. She never made it to her room, which, should have immediately countered the runaway idea.
But the investigation still hit some serious roadblocks, didn't it? Even with that toothbrush clue. The sources really emphasized this runaway factor.
Oh, definitely. And it caused a crucial delay. Our sources confirmed Susan did have a history of running away briefly before, just for a few days at a time.
So in 1975.
Right. In '75, if a team with any history like that went missing, it automatically lessened the urgency for law enforcement. They might have thought, okay, she'll probably be back in a day or two.
Which means those vital first 24, 48 hours.
Exactly. The golden hours for finding an abduction victim. They were likely lost because the case probably wasn't escalated to a high-level alert quickly enough.
And then there was just noise, confusing paperwork, false leads. We even see notes in some early files getting the date wrong, listing it as June 25th instead of the 27th.
That suggests some initial chaos. And then you had that well-meaning but ultimately unhelpful witness. A BYU professor thought he saw her 4 days later.
Selling a textbook.
Yeah, selling a textbook in his class, wearing casual clothes, jeans and a top, almost certainly a case of mistaken identity, but imagine the resources diverted chasing that down, trying to confirm this false runaway story while the real predator was long gone.
What we know now, of course, which police didn't back then, is that Susan's disappearance wasn't isolated. It was, tragically, the last known case in a terrifying pattern across Utah at that time.
Yeah, let's place this in context. The Wasatch Front, 1974 to 1975. This was peak Bundy activity in Utah.
Susan was the fifth young woman linked to him in that awful stretch.
Right. You had Nancy Wilcox, Melissa Smith, Laura Ann Aim, Debbie Kent. All vanished within months of each other. And the really devastating part is, out of those 5 Utah victims from that period, Only two sets of remains were ever found, Melissa Smith and Laura Ann Aim.
And Bundy was so effective because he wasn't initially using brute force, was he? He was using manipulation, almost like theater.
His MO, his method, it was chillingly effective because it played on basic human decency. He looked clean-cut, trustworthy. He'd often fake an injury arm in a sling, maybe a leg cast, and ask for help.
Like carrying books or loading something into his car.
Exactly, that distinctive VW Beetle. He knew people generally want to help someone who seems hurt or struggling. He weaponized empathy.
His luck, though, it finally ran out just under 2 months after Susan vanished. August 1975. He tries to flee a traffic stop.
And that's when investigators got their first solid piece connecting these disappearances, the stuff they found inside his Volkswagen. It must have been a moment of just utter dread for law enforcement looking back.
You kill kid.
Yeah, that chilling term. Handcuffs, the ski mask, rope, an ice pick. This wasn't just some random abduction anymore. The discovery confirmed a meticulous, organized serial killer had been operating right under their noses, completely undetected. The BYU police looking for Susan had no clue they were dealing with the same monster who'd already taken 4 other local women.
Okay, let's jump forward. 14 years. January 1989. Bundy's on death row in Florida. His execution is imminent. And suddenly, he starts talking.
Right, the so-called Bundy Summit.
He confesses to dozens of crimes, including, specifically, abducting and murdering Susan Curtis. For all intents and purposes, that confession closed the case in the public mind.
But we absolutely cannot see this as genuine remorse. It was purely a transaction. Bundy was dangling information, hoping to trade it for a stay of execution. The reports are clear. His cooperation dried up the second he realized Utah officials weren't actually going to bat for him to stop the clock.
His words were just bargaining chips.
Completely. Meant only to save himself.
So if survival was the goal, why give any specifics about Susan? He told them he buried her body somewhere along a highway near Price, Utah. Why offer that detail?
That is the absolute crux of his final cruelty. If he knew the execution was likely going forward anyway, why offer a location at all, especially one that turned out to be false? Law enforcement mobilized based on his directions. They searched the area near Price.
And found nothing.
Nothing. The searches turned up no evidence, as the sources state. His confession led them to an empty patch of desert. It confirmed her death, yes, but by denying her family the finality of her remains, he delivered the maximum possible psychological pain.
How does that even work?
Yeah.
I mean, the power dynamic when a killer is literally hours from execution. Why prioritize causing more pain over, I don't know, seeking some kind of peace?
Because that need for power, for control, it defined his entire existence. Bundy scored, what was it, a 39 out of 40 on the Psychopathy Checklist Revised, the PCLR. That's an incredibly high score.
Signifying extreme narcissism, sadism.
Exactly. A profound need to control everything, even the narrative, even the justice system itself, right up to the very end. When investigators pushed him for precise locations, he didn't just say, I don't remember.
No, he played games.
He used manipulative language, claimed his memory was fuzzy or not as nimble as it used to be. You see the real malice when he talked about another Utah victim, Debbie Kent. He apparently boasted that investigators could spend several lifetimes looking for her remains.
And that they can't be found.
Right. His goal wasn't just to hide the truth, it was to make the police feel powerless, frustrated, humiliated.
To make them, as he apparently said, slop through the mud in vain.
Precisely. So that confession about Susan Curtis's location, leading them on that fruitless desert search near Price, that was his final sadistic power play. A calculated act to ensure the Curtis family's suffering continued long after he was gone.
Which brings us pretty much to today. Despite Bundy's confession providing that, grim certainty, the case is still officially open. Unsolved kidnapping and homicide. But the search itself has changed, hasn't it? It's less about active digging now and more technological.
It really has. Susan Curtis's profile is actively maintained in crucial national databases. She's in NAMUS, the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, that's case MP27748.
And NCMEC, too.
And NCMC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Her case number there is 1242795. These systems ensure that if any unidentified remains are discovered anywhere in the country, they can be cross-referenced against her specific details.
And those details are key, especially her dental records, right? We know she was wearing braces when she disappeared.
Absolutely crucial. Her dental records exist, and importantly, a DNA profile has been developed and is in the system. So if sometime down the line, years, even decades, remains are found, perhaps accidentally by hikers or during construction somewhere in that region.
Identification could be relatively quick and certain,
It could. The search now is really an intricate technological waiting game.
but that waiting, it inflicts its own kind of trauma. Our sources use the term ambiguous loss.
And that phrase just perfectly captures the ongoing psychological wound. Ambiguous loss. It's the trauma of knowing, based on the killer's own words, that your loved one is dead, but lacking that physical confirmation.
The remain.
The remains needed for a funeral, for a burial, for the rituals that help complete the grieving process. It traps the family in this awful state of limbo where real closure feels perpetually out of reach.
Ultimately, this deep dive, it really forces us to remember that this story is about Susan Curtis, the energetic, independent teenager who cycled 50 miles to a conference. It's not at the monster who took her life.
We have to keep the focus there.
Her case is just such a powerful example of how, even when a notorious killer confesses, their final actions can still deny a family the most basic element of justice, the ability to properly mourn and say goodbye.
Yeah.
So what does this all mean for you listening? Well, Susan's case demonstrates that a crime can be solved in the court of public opinion, even confirmed by the killer, but the physical absence of evidence lets the perpetrator's final manipulative act echo indefinitely.
And that really is the most enduring, chilling impact here. Ted Bundy, by confessing the murder but deliberately giving a false burial location, managed to inflict this permanent, uniquely tailored form of grief on the Curtis family. It was like one last macabre victory of control that outlasted his own life.
It really makes you question the nature of justice itself, doesn't it?
It does. Can justice ever truly be served when a killer's final act prioritizes maintaining their own psychological dominance over granting peace or closure to the families of those they destroyed? It's a deeply unsettling thought to leave you with.